Cool. It's like that thing always before a podcast where you're like, I want to ask stuff and say stuff, but then it's like,
Stop
save it for the podcast.
Exactly.
All right, ready when you are? Right here?
Oh, look at the thing. Sorry.
Yeah. We're good when you are, yeah.
Okay. Wait.
Oh, yeah, you start. Sorry. Hi, my name is Peter Grosz.
Oh, right.
Peter Grosz, whatever. Do you say Pete or Peter?
I say Peter, but people
Oh,
call
you
me
say
Pete.
Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'll say Pete Grosz, actually.
Okay, whatever you want to say. And I would put in my immigrant, then I do your intro.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yep.
Hi, mate. I'm not ready.
Yes.
Include that. Hi, my name is Peter Grosz, and I would put a tube of prepared Hungarian hot pepper stuff in my immigrant jam.
What? Oh my goodness. O-M to the G. We have risen out of the ashes of Canada's trees, and we are still here to welcome you back to another beautiful episode of Immigrant Jam, le podcast, recording live from New York City. Well, it's not live by the time that you hear it, but I'm Lucie Cole.
Live.
We're live. Exactly. We're alive and live and in the flesh, and I am here today. Oh my goodness, my guest is so amazing, so delicious, so nutritious. What an amazing guy. Pete Grosz is here. You know Pete Grosz. Hello. You know him from Colbert. You know him from Seth Meyers. You've seen him on Veep. He was Mike Pence on The President Show. He's been on Wait, Don't Tell Me. If you don't watch anything and just listen to stuff and love NPR, then you know this. And he's currently on Broadway. Ever heard of it? In a play called Goodnight Oscar. Welcome to Immigrant Jam, the podcast. Pete.
Thank you.
Peter.
Appreciate it.
Pete Grosz.
Thank you very much.
Woo, woo, woo.
Lots
Thank you
of
for
clapping.
being here.
Sure, of course. It's my pleasure.
Wow. I'm so excited. I did not realize that you had an immigrant flavor town in your
in my
background.
flavor family tree.
And we did the Rat Scraps show together.
Right.
And then I think I told you about Immigrant Jam, or I said that's how you guys should bring me up. You were like, what is it? I was like, well, it's immigrants, first generation immigrants. And you were like, oh, where are you from? And I said, my mom's Romanian, my dad's German. I was born, and you said, what? Wait, my dad's Romanian.
That's right.
Wild.
Yeah, and I mean, the reason I mentioned Hungarian pepper paste is because he's from the western part of Romania, which used to be Austria-Hungary, and my dad was born in 1935. So that's, I don't know when they ended World War I, 1918, 1919.
World War I? 18, yeah.
18, yeah. So not long after he was born. And so it had just, the area that he was in used to be Hungary, and it had just recently, like 16 years ago, become Romania.
Right.
And then, so he and all of his friends spoke Hungarian. The language of the streets was Hungarian. His culture is Hungarian, but in school he learned Romanian, but he never spoke it. So he's kind of like a weird, keep hitting the mic, he's like in a weird... cross-cultural thing where and also it's funny to think back to like they carved up the Austro-Hungarian Empire that like he's not that old, but he's old enough to have affected him, you know.
It's so true. Isn't it funny how the world was still was still taking shape in a way
shifting.
so recently?
I mean, it probably is now. Like, you know, 100 years from now, people will be like, there was one United States of America? That's so strange.
New York was not its own country?
Yeah.
So did you grow up then speaking Hungarian, I guess you would have spoken?
My dad's thing was he got out of Romania so... like with such gusto and with like a real like middle finger to Ceausescu, the communist dictator in the 60s and I mean through the 90s, but that's when he left, was in 1961.
61.
And so he left and had no interest in like kind of cultivating that, like when there's two immigrant parents and they're like, we're from Japan, you're going to speak Japanese. Or even one who's just hard-headed about, like my son's friend has one English dad and a Japanese mother, and the Japanese mother makes the kids go to Japanese like cultural classes just to hang out with other Japanese kids and speak Japanese and all that. And my dad just was not interested in that. He loved his friends and his family and stuff, but didn't have a huge family, didn't have a big connection to Romania. And it just wasn't something that he thought like, oh, I should speak Hungarian around my kids. What he did was curse in Hungarian constantly. So I learned like Hungarian curses and stuff, but it was never like part of our lives.
That's so funny because my mom's family also left in 1961.
And what
Left
part of Romania?
Bucharest.
Bucharest. Okay,
They
so
were
they
in
were more
Bucharest.
like Romanian.
Well, my grandfather was a German Jew, and my grandmother was a Romanian Jew, but my grandfather moved to Romania in 1933 because he was like already on a list in 1933, and his sister was in Romania. She was married to a Romanian guy. So he went there, but they also left in 1961, which I think was also due to, the communist regime changed during that time, changed from one to the other. And if you were affiliated with the, previous communist regime, people were blacklisted, they couldn't work and stuff like that. And then he moved back to Germany, basically. But the same thing.
But in 61, he was like, Germany's cool.
No, I don't think he thought Germany was cool. His cousin was Helena Weigel.
Better than it was in 1933.
It was much better. But his cousin was Helena Weigel, who was Bertolt Brecht's wife. He was dead at that point, but that was his cousin, and she came to visit them and was like, you guys are poor, because they'd been blacklisted and stuff. She was like, come and stay with me in East Germany. If you don't like it, you can leave, because the wall hadn't been built. And they literally arrived a week before the wall was built.
I was going to say, that's right when it was built, right? It was like the summer of 61 or spring
The
of
summer of
61.
August 61, yeah. But then also my mother didn't teach us Romanian.
Right.
And my grandma just cursed in Romanian. Yeah.
My mom's from an immigrant from Connecticut to New York. So she had like a much shorter distance to travel. But like when she was a kid, or when she was in college, she had like a semester in the Sorbonne that she, so she was super into French. And so like my sister and I took French in school, and she sort of cultivated that. And my dad was excited about that, just and the fact that there would be multiple languages. But he really didn't sit us down and like, he would like put me on his knee and sing like a little song in, I think it's Hungarian, about like, a bouncing little boy or whatever it is. It actually has amazing lyrics, but it goes like hopla hopla reita, something something schreita, and then the graben fessen in the grab. I think it might be German, actually. It is German.
Hoppe hoppe reita,
do you know
wenn
that?
Fällt, dann schreit fällt in den Graben, fressen in den Graben, fällt in den Sumpf, macht reita plumps. And then you like open your legs
and the kid falls through.
And
do you know what it means?
Of course I know what it means. I speak German.
Oh, yeah, right. So doesn't it have something to do with like crows or something like that?
It means like I
forgot that it's German, right?
The horseback rider, oh my God, is galloping. If he falls, he'll scream.
Right.
Wenn fällt, dann schreit fällt. If he falls in the ditch, the ravens will eat him.
This is like for a child. Like, hey, we're having a good time. Like you would, if you sang that in English, you would be like, here comes the rider. If he falls in the ditch, the crows will eat him. Nobody would ever sing that to a kid.
No, but that's like...
That's the Germans.
That's the Germans, absolutely. They're like, we're having a great time, and all the kids will be eaten.
I love that you know that.
Crows.
That's so funny.
That's a very German little German song.
Yeah, he had like German like babysitter nannies and stuff as a kid, so he probably got that.
Or your mom is Jewish?
They're both Jewish.
Both Jewish.
So yeah, he just like gave that to us.
So how did he escape? Because Romania was fascist. So what was he doing?
His thing was
what basement was he hiding in?
No, actually. So in terms of the war, so he was alive during the war, but I'm sure like your grandparents, Romania was far safer of a place for Jews than Germany and really the rest of Europe. And his dad and mom had a little argument about should we stay in Romania or should we go to Hungary, because his dad had more people in Hungary. And his mother, my grandmother, won that argument, and they stayed. And Hungary Jews were decimated. And I think Romania, they were just like, you're too far
imprisoned, stuff like that. My grandma had to wear the yellow star, and my grandfather actually went to prison during the war in Romania.
Yeah, my dad did not have horrible memories of. I mean, the war was not there. There wasn't a lot of fighting. What he does remember is the Russians advancing through Romania towards the west and heading towards Germany. And he was telling me this like not long ago. He died like a year and a half ago, but around the end, that's okay. Around the end of his life, he was saying that there was a Russian soldier who sort of like came through on the way and like stopped and like, quartered in their house because they don't have a whatever it is, Sixth Amendment or whatever it is about that you can't, Third Amendment. But that soldier was like, when we come back, we're not like passing through, just so you know. And then they came back and then they just kind of stayed. And then the communist regime sort of like seeped in and they were a satellite state and everything. So they didn't really have any, once the war started, he had no like peace. But his dad owned a factory and that was taken from him under like the nationalization of everything. So by the time 61 rolled around, his father was dead. He died in 1952. And so my dad was 17 when his dad died. So by 61, he was 26. And he was kind of like responsible for stuff and trying to figure things out. And all of his friends were being essentially like sold to Israel. Like Israel was just paying all these countries for Jews, and cheaply because they wanted a good, deal. And they got all of his friends went to Israel, and then he was like, I don't want to go to Israel. It's another like socialist country, and he wanted to go to America. So he kind of got a visa to go to Vienna, and then basically just was like, yeah, I'll be back, and then never went back.
And so obviously he had a thick accent in English. You grew up with...
Oh, yeah, big time.
Were you like embarrassed of that? Did you want to have American parents? I mean, I realized your mom was from Connecticut.
Yeah, my dad's like, it wasn't even the accent. It was just like, how do you not know that? A giant, like I'm like the, most children of immigrants. It's like, what are you talking about? How do you not understand? Like we were literally watching we were watching the Super Bowl one year with all my friends.
I love this.
Which is football, just in case there's any other Romanians listening or watching.
My parents.
It's American football. It's not baseball because he was like, what are you watching? We said, we're watching the Super Bowl. And just to not even be aware that what we're doing is watching the Super Bowl. And he's like, oh, are the Yankees in it? And I was just completely mortified. And that's like the thing that at 12 is like the biggest deal in the world too.
I still have that. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is watch award shows. And my parents are my dad's a writer and an actor in Germany. Not here. He doesn't really speak English, but like watching award shows, he'd be like, who's that? Who's that? I'm like, Dad, that's Oprah. You don't know Oprah? Exactly. And it makes me mad. And I'm like an adult, but it's still, I'm like a teenager. I'm like, how do you not? And then he's like, look how happy she is. What does she do? I'm like, Dad, that's fucking like Jennifer Lawrence or like these people are so famous. What did we watched the Oscars recently, and who was it? Rihanna. He was like, that woman is pretty good. I'm like, it's Rihanna.
I discovered Rihanna.
Yeah, exactly. And then he like cries because he's like, look at how happy they are. Look at them. They finally made it. I'm like, they're so famous. They made it like 30 years ago.
That is, but like, do you think that, I feel like immigrants have a greater respect for like the process of achievement.
Oh yeah,
and like the everything that it takes to go. I mean, immigrants to America, obviously, not like maybe somebody moving from like France to Sweden doesn't feel that way, but like, I don't know.
Yes, for sure. Although, yes, I think so. I think in my case, it's different because my parents never really integrated here and never really worked here.
Do they have friends and all that?
They integrated in that sense, but like my dad still doesn't speak English. He doesn't really work. He doesn't have a real visa.
But they're here or they're
here and there.
So never became a citizen.
My mom just got a green card. I'm the only citizen in the family.
So how did they live here for so long?
They had visas. They just like
they were white.
Yeah,
they didn't get kicked out.
Yeah. It was super easy for Germans to get like 10-year visas in the 90s and stuff. Germans anyway, German citizens.
My dad was actually he became a citizen. I don't even know when, actually, a long time ago. But I don't think it was ever. I mean, I was born in '74, so it was way before. I never knew that he wasn't a citizen or anything. But when he left Romania and then left Austria, he was like a United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Refugee. He was like a political refugee from a communist country. And he just basically had to be like, I'm from a communist. Yeah. Can I come in? And they were like, sure, come on in.
And they had to say yes. Yeah. So did you identify with that though growing up? Like, did you consider yourself an immigrant kid? Because you grew up in Scarsdale, right?
I grew up in Scarsdale, New York. And I mean, I'm like...
Not that many immigrant kids there, is it? It's pretty white, isn't it?
It's pretty white. I mean, the immigrants in Scarsdale were Indian or South Asian, maybe like other Pakistani or anything, or Sri Lankan. But But, you know, there were a few families I knew that were actually Indian, and then a lot of Japanese, because that was sort of the 80s. There were a lot of Japanese kind of moving to America at that time. And I think by the time I was in high school, more Chinese and maybe some Korean, but I don't remember like the Asian kids in my town being Korean, but now probably more. So I definitely didn't, like, I wasn't sort of marked as that or socially or whatever, identify with that. It was, I think my big thing was probably just being Jewish, and like being at like a temple with like, that's your, you know, sort of group of people or my parents' friends or something. But no, I mean, Scarsdale's so snooty and everything. And so like those people from other races and other countries were really kind of like separated and segregated probably. And there's very few African Americans, and I mean, very few Latin people in Scarsdale at the time when I grew up. I can barely remember. Yeah. You know, like I had a friend, his name was Dan Lopez, but he wasn't like, Dan Lopez, I'm from Nicaragua or something like that. His parents had lived here for a while.
Yeah. He just...
Where did you grow up here?
I grew up in Soho on Green Street. Yeah. But, you know, before it meant
Soho.
that your parents are rich, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't have the benefit of having grown up in Soho
when like
with rich
Soho
parents.
was like, yuck.
When Soho, when Soho was actually cool. I grew up in the time when it was cool, where like it was all the galleries and there was little cafes and there was a little store called Whole Foods that I don't think had anything to do with the big Whole Foods, but it was just this little health food store called Whole Foods on Prince Street. And there was a huge statue right around the corner from where I grew up that had like 15 titties and 19 ass cheeks, and it was in front of this mirror, and it was part of just my neighborhood.
So there were 30 titties and 18
yes,
ass
exactly.
cheeks.
And it was like the cool, like I would like walk down the street and see Lou Reed on the street, and like
awesome.
you know, like that kind of like time where it wasn't dangerous
Yeah, Scarsdale
anymore.
was like that. Scarsdale's totally like that. But my Lou Reed was Louis Reed. He was the rabbi, Louis Reed. That's who I saw walking down the street.
But there was a lot of Jews in Scarsdale, weren't there?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was like 80% Jewish. And then at some point my mom was like, no, it's less than half. Because it's still not, you know.
Well, that's the funny thing about being Jewish in the vicinity of New York, that you think that there's so many Jews everywhere, and then you leave like the, you know, sort of New York region, you're like, oh yeah, there's no Jews.
Yeah, and also like even drive around Scarsdale, I think she said that, and then I was looking, I'm like, there are a lot of churches here, and there's like 5 temples. You know, but there's still like, there's that Catholic church and that Presbyterian church, and there's just like, you're like, oh yeah, it's still America. There's still way more non-Jews. It's not like Ramapo or something like that where it's like all Hasids.
So did your dad, you know, this like typical immigrant thing of feeling like you have to do well because of the sacrifices that your parents made as an immigrant kid.
Yeah.
You know, did he want you to become this like typical immigrant dad thing of like be a lawyer, be a doctor, or did you have any of that growing up? Any of that like feeling,
that kind of pressure?
I have to, you know, make good on my dad's sacrifices?
Yeah, I mean, I think that my dad, specifically coming from communist Romania, was sort of like a hyper, not like a hyper capitalist, like a robber baron, but like he was very into just like, he bought in completely to the, you know, post-war American capitalist thing.
Right.
Ronald Reagan was just a complete icon and saint. My parents went to Reagan's first inaugural.
Holy
There's a
shit.
picture of them.
We are not responsible for our
I was
parents.
7 and I was in New York.
No, come on, be honest. You were like, go to Reagan's inaugural.
Stop volunteering for Jimmy Carter and why don't you switch over to Reagan, Dad? And yeah, there's a picture of my dad in a tux and my mom in like a really nice dress, and they were at, you know, it was like one of the 7 balls or whatever, the first one, because he was just all in on that, and he was he went to Harvard Business School, which is like a little, you know, thing of pride for him because he went on like a scholarship and something. So yeah, he got here in '62. He went to Harvard Business School in '68. So he learned enough English and did enough stuff to be in a position to go. So he definitely had that, like I was saying about achievement. He, you know, found his way. And my mom, like, you know, worked and like helped him get through school. So he graduated. He started some business stuff with some of the people he went to school with and like some of the people they knew. So yeah, by the time I was in high school and thinking about like what was I actually going to do, my sister's 3 years older, so my sister was like very good, well-behaved first child, super smart. She's a lawyer now and does like all sort of traditional things, and I'm the second child fuck up who, had like.
Fuck up who's on Broadway. Oh,
Yeah,
what
well,
a
now,
fuck up. Oh
now,
my
I did
God,
not-
Pete. Get your shit together.
I did not start on Broadway, but I was a little more all over the place. And I was going to say something about like his, yeah, this is the best. So he definitely wanted me to be, he just wanted me like to have like a secure career. And at some point I was in Chicago and I got into improv in college, and I took improv classes at IO, which was called Improv Olympic at the time in Chicago. And I was I don't think I was at Second City really yet. It was very, very soon. I think maybe I might have just still been in college, but I came back to New York for something. I would come back, on breaks. And my dad was like, we're going to go into the city and I want you to meet somebody. I'm like, fine. So we went and he met some guy who was somebody he knew who was a stockbroker. And this was like, he was like just a classic New York stockbroker guy, like Michael Douglas at Wall Street, slick back hair, like literally the white shirt, a white collar with a blue shirt, red suspenders. Like he just could not have looked more out of central casting for like a douchebag stockbroker. And I'm like, I don't know why we're here. I'm just putting up with, he wants me to meet this guy. And just, he wanted me to like see like, I thought we were going to walk around and the guy was going to be like, this is what stockbrokers do. And I would endure it for an hour and then go home. We sit down and the guy goes to me, my dad, your dad tells me you want to be a stockbroker.
Oh, shit.
I was like, yeah, I guess. And I basically just was like, so what do you do?
How much cocaine can you snort?
Yeah, exactly. I'll leave the room. You guys do all the cocaine. I was like, you fucker, man. I totally got ambushed by my dad about this thing.
Shit.
And it may have just
that.
been like lost in translation, but he definitely wanted me to do shit like that.
No, it wasn't. I'm sure that he told him that he wanted to be a stock. He's like,
Yeah.
this is the way I can get my son to be a stockbroker.
Right, just by forcing him out of
exactly.
awkwardness to like to say yes to this guy's thing. So then eventually I started getting like little things here and there, acting things, and as soon as I started getting paid for stuff, then he
That's
backed
such
off
an
a
immigrant
little bit.
thing. I have to say,
Totally.
not to like, cheaply bring it back to the theme, but it is. It's such an immigrant thing, and my parents do it too.
Everybody does.
Immigrant Jam, the podcast. Anywhere
I didn't
you
even
get
know we
your
were doing a
podcast.
podcast.
But yeah, they still do it. They still
do
like-
it now.
Yesterday, my parents called me because of the smoke. They're in Berlin right now, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. My shows got canceled tonight, and my dad's like, you're losing a lot of money. And I was like, no, these are like the shows where I work out new stuff. That's not. These aren't about like making. That's not like stuff. A little bit,
they like
but it's not
stand-up,
really.
little random stand-up shows.
And he's like, oh, you're not. Oh, okay. And I could hear that like he gets it, but at the same time, it is still this like
He's like,
immigrant.
good. I'm glad it got canceled. Do something for money, for Christ's sake.
But also, my dad used to always tell me, rent apartments that you can't afford, so it'll make you work harder.
Oh my God.
Not sure that's the best advice, but
That's hilarious. Yeah. That's really funny. That's like, do anything to make you work harder.
yeah, stress yourself.
Stress yourself out.
Max out your credit cards, and then you'll work harder.
Because that makes working hard the end result. That means like do whatever it needs to take so that you can achieve the goal of working hard.
This is true.
That
This
is a
true.
very immigrant
Yeah,
thing.
that is a very
I
immigrant
think
thing.
it's like, and this is not the world's most profound observation, but the people who do...
Then get the fuck out.
Okay, thanks. The people who immigrate are the more sort of ambitious ones, especially coming to America from these other countries where, opportunity and success and money is not necessarily as possible and all over the place. The ones that come here are the ones that are like, I came here because let's get shit started.
Yeah,
Like,
and the ones with balls, I guess,
Yeah.
unless they had to. But this is what I was actually going to ask you. This is perfect. So, improv can be so painful to watch. One
Thank
of
you.
my favorite live experiences I ever had was watching you and John Lutz.
Oh, okay.
Two Square, right?
Two
Was
Square,
it
yeah.
called? I was like, oh my God, this is fucking insane. This is
thank you.
exhilarating. You guys are so good. I mean,
you.
you're so good. It like just makes up for all the painful improv in the world.
That's so great.
Where do you think this brain comes from? Because obviously, you know, I said good segue because of the like courage or the balls. I feel like you have to have such balls to do improv, but of course then you also have to, you know, learn skills and kind of, you know, like humble yourself and fall on your ass a lot. Do you think that your upbringing, like where does this improv brain come from, do you think?
I mean, I think improv brain is a little ADD as an entry point. It's an easy thing for people who can't, you know, don't want to learn lines as on the acting side, and they don't want to sit down and write on the writing side because it's sort of both things at once. It's like writing and performing, basically.
Huh? I wasn't listening. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well, there you go. So here's your first improv class. Sign up. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that as like a, you know, like the first superficial level of why people get involved. But I think, you know, like the level that like John and I have gotten to was, first of all, it takes a long time
otherworldly
to get to that point to be so comfortable where you're able to manipulate your brain and your performance and pull different levers that you can't pull when you're in your first, second, third, fourth year, whatever. Of
so
performing.
Why is that? Just because of experience, or is it really confidence, or are you retraining your brain, or? I
mean, I personally, John comes from a very different place, which is like, he's like that noise, you know, on stage sometimes. He's very silly and he likes to just like blurt things out and does a lot of like, sort of like manic, crazy stuff that's really wonderful and has a whole other part of his brain that can, you know, think and organize. But I come from the more thinking and organizing part. So I think we're a good match as far as that goes. But that thinking, organizing part, that definitely comes from my dad. Like my dad is hyper organized, like to a fault, was extremely, you know, anal and worried about stuff, which I don't know if that's immigrant stuff or if that's just him.
Or Jewish.
It might be Jewish. I mean, there's so many.
Worried about stuff, I think, is the Jewish thing.
A perfect stew of like immigrant, Jew, and then old. As he got older, it got even more. But yeah, he was a very like financially. He was, you know, he was sort of, his career was in finance stuff, and so he was always hounding me about finances and not just like making money, but like, here's how you set up a retirement account. Very young. Like I have people who are my age now and I'm in my mid 20s. Obviously. You know, like people, you know, I know who are in their 40s who are like, I don't understand what a 401k is. And I've never had I mean, most people.
One of those people at all, Mike.
Just got one.
What?
The duck has one and you guys don't even know. But
that's a real gift.
Yeah, but his like hyper organized and hyper financial focused and hyper worried and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I was trying to work really hard against that as I was growing up all the time. My dad was like my like, well, the North Star is what you go to. So I guess he was my South Star. I was trying to like move as far away from him as I possibly could because, you know, I had more artistic leanings and tendencies and he was quite strict. And, you know, unfortunately for him, his financial career was not, it wasn't really like his personality. It wasn't quite what he could have, you know, should have been doing. He should have like had a podcast or something. Terrific listener, could talk forever.
Wow.
But yeah, like came here, was, you know, kind of swept up in like, this is what I'm supposed to do, went to business school.
Money.
All that stuff. So I push hard as possible against like those tendencies of myself to be hyper organized and like his brain. So I think maybe my improv skill and the way I show up is like a combination of those two things. A little anarchy, but I can't ever really be as like crazy as a lot of other performers, comics, actors, writers. Like there's a lot of people who are more out there than me. And I'm like, that's just like, I can't with that as my dad. Like I'm never going over there. You know, I'm not going to be fucking Gigi Allen, like shitting on a flag or something like that. Not that he's an improviser, but you know.
But who knows?
Yeah.
Do you think that improv helped you discover yourself, like understand yourself?
I think so. I mean, I think every artistic venture that I have undertaken, or even if it's like a hobby or something, like I play music a lot, and sometimes I'll try to write a song here or there. And I think all of that is like about exploration and trying to figure that out. So, I mean, improv is great because you can just, every moment and everything is like completely up for grabs. So you can just go anywhere, which is, I think, why it's terrifying and sometimes not fun to watch.
Yes.
But in the hands of good people. Yeah.
But it has really valuable life lessons, right? This like and is something that everybody, if everybody just leaned into it, I think would enrich everybody's life or the world or whatever. No?
Yeah. I mean, the yes and-ness, if people don't know, although I feel like it's gotten so pervasive in culture that everybody knows, like, sort of the rules of improv.
Some people might not know.
But yeah, let's just say you're a Romanian person listening to this for the first time. The idea is that if somebody says something in a scene, or they walk in and they're like, doctor, I'm here for my results, the yes is accepting the fact that they said that you're a doctor, and then the and is adding something to it. So it would be like, yeah, I do have your results, yes, and
you have AIDS.
You have AIDS. And then the lights go out, or the curtain, or whatever, and then the audience uproarious laughter, as we all learned from Rent. Very funny.
Yep. Hilarious.
But yeah, that's the basic this. I think there's a lot of like group mind stuff, and like there's a lot of group mind stuff and sharing focus, and like if you're really doing improv right in a group of people, you're not hogging the spotlight. You're not, or you can take it for a second, and then you sort of you sit back and let someone else have it. And I mean, I think everybody could do with a little more of that.
Yeah, and the listening.
Yeah, and the listening, and
And the I went to a drama or acting school in Germany, and they always talked about Durchlässigkeit, which means like being like letting things flow through you.
Oh, that's
not
funny.
like blocking anything.
Yeah.
Right, like letting things flow through you. And I think that's what when you look at great improvisers, then you're like, wow, they're really just there's nothing blocking anything.
Yeah,
they're
that's
just,
true.
Like, firing.
It is. It's a lot like. People would always talk about like, is it more like jazz or is it more like something like basketball, where like you can do a pickup game in basketball and all you have to do is like bring your skill, but then you don't have to like run a bunch of like set plays in basketball.
Right.
And in jazz, like you can just be like, all right, we're going to be in E, and these are generally the chords. We're going to do this. And improv, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, this is the format of the show, and we're going to get these suggestions, and it's going to go like this, and Lucie's going to do monologues, and then we'll just like fuck around.
What did you think you were going to do when you went to college? Because I'm sure you didn't think of improv and all
I didn't
that
even,
stuff.
when I was done with college, I didn't even think of improv. When I went, I had no earthly clue what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I would study psychology. And I went to a school that had a bunch of different, I went to Northwestern outside of Chicago, which is why I was in Chicago for so long. But I went to a school that had a bunch of different, schools. They had a school of journalism and a school of speech, which is where I ended up, which was like film major and acting and like communication studies, which I guess a lot of those people went into advertising. So I guess they just I don't know what they did in class. They watched commercials, the history of commercials. But I had no clue. And then by the time I don't know what they did. It was like comm studies. So it was like you're studying like pop culture and American whatever. No offense to anybody with those degrees. If you're just listening to the podcast,
no, you're a valuable member of society. Thank you for being here.
Well, I was gainfully employed in commercials for a very long time. So.
Yes. Yeah. The Sonic, what is it called? Sorry,
Sonic.
I'm not American enough for Sonic burgers.
Yeah, burgers. It's called Sonic Drive-In, but yeah.
Sonic Drive-In.
But yeah, I thought I was going to be a photographer. I was really interested in photography by the time I left school, because I switched into film school at Northwestern. And I was like, I'm going to be a cinematographer. I like taking pictures. I like film. I like the way things look, and I like framing things up and all that kind of stuff. And then I was someone's camera assistant. This is like back in the day when I would load his cameras and give them to him while he was shooting one. I would be loading the film into the other one and like winding it up, and then unload the other one and switch, and putting your hands in like a black bag so you could take the film out without exposing all that shit.
Yeah.
I just did that for a little bit, and I got paid like a very little bit while I was taking improv classes and like, waiting tables and stuff. And then I got a gig in Europe. I worked at this theater called Boom Chicago, which is in Amsterdam.
Oh, in Amsterdam,
Yeah,
right.
which is basically like Second City style show, but in Amsterdam in English because it's such an international city and a lot of people speak English. So there's there's so many American tourists that just float through Amsterdam, literally
Right.
like
High
just
as
high.
fuck. Yeah.
As fuck. Yeah. So they have like a successful theater that they've actually.
Like, here, watch some improv.
Oh my God! I mean, it was
High
like half
fucks.
like hilarious, like not even half, like a quarter, sort of like stony people walking in, and then like Dutch public who year after year there would be new shows and there was some improv, so they got used to coming and stuff. But I did that and I got paid for that, and so then that was like a bit of a thing, and then I came back to Chicago and I worked a little bit at Second City. But so by then I was off the photography, like I just wasn't getting gigs, and so then I just turned it into a hobby, and then I still like print. I don't do it now, but I did print like in a dark room, exposing the film and doing all the pictures and stuff like that and framing them.
I thought you were going to say I was a camera assistant, and then I dropped the like $80,000 camera, and they were like, "You idiot! You'll never work in this town again."
You
And
get
then
in
I
front
went
of the
into
camera
improv.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're too beautiful to be holding the camera.
exactly.
Someone walked up to me, and I said, "Fine."
Right. The camera accidentally turned around and the director was like, "Hold it. Jesus fucking Christ. Look at that kid. He's beautiful." Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was the first Sonic
That was the first.
drive.
I was holding a burger. Huh?
Like,
What?
Yeah.
No, I did way
wow.
more stage work before I did any camera work.
Aha,
But-
so you did do a lot of stage acting?
No, I mean stage work like Second City and Boom Chicago and stuff like that. But like I didn't make a thing until I was the first Sonic commercial. I was like 28. But I know so many people who get things when they were younger. But I don't know. I just felt like I felt like an unformed like pupa. Like I don't even have like a real point of view or anything. And then I don't know. I guess they just.
Do you feel formed now?
No,
Like a
not
more
fully.
form?
No,
Yeah.
I mean I think that's
Isn't
the
that the
idea
thing?
of
It
being
never
an
goes
artist.
away,
Is
yeah.
like because I am an artist. But no, like.
An artiste.
But that's why like every time you do stand up, like you said, you're working on new material. Like nobody's done,
No.
constantly thinking of new things and like
Yeah.
going through like just filtering life through your brain and putting it out into the world. So
So now you're on Broadway.
yeah, now I'm on Broadway, which is just crazy.
That's insane. It's
pretty
your
crazy.
debut? Your
It was my Broadway debut. Yeah.
Woo!
I did a play 10 years ago, also in New York at Lincoln Center.
Oh, I thought you were going to say at the Strawberry One Act Festival.
What is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a real thing?
It is a real thing.
Where? What is that?
It's at,
now I want to do a show there. How come I've never done one at the Strawberry Wine Fest?
You've never. Are you a real? Have you done one there, Mike? I feel like everybody
Have
has.
you?
It's at the theater at St. Clement's. Yeah, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't know the
Yeah.
reference. The theater at St. Clement's, which is on like 46th or something between 9th and
Okay.
10th. And it's like a rip-off festival, but it's called the Strawberry One Act Festival. It's cute. Yeah. So
no.
I did a play at Lincoln
I
Center.
did a play
10
at Lincoln
years
Center,
ago.
which when I got cast in that, I was like, this is incredible. I'm doing a play at Lincoln Center. And then I had auditioned for a few things. And then, then I was like, I had some writing jobs where I couldn't audition for theater stuff. And then I got asked to do a reading of this play. And then from that, they said, we're doing this play in Chicago at the Goodman Theater, which is like one of the bigger theaters in Chicago. And so I got to do that. And then from there, they were like, we're taking it back to Broadway. So it kind of built.
Was this a dream for you? Did you ever dream of that specifically?
It's so insane to me that I never even would have dreamt about it.
Right.
It was like so far beyond the possibility of anything.
Because you have so many like amazing credits, right?
Thank you.
But did you dream were you like, I want to be in a big fat movie. I want to be on a big TV show. I want to be a writer for late night. Like, did you have those dreams?
I had a big, I want to be a writer for late night dream for
you
a
did?
really long time. Yeah, like I think I had SNL dreams as
and
a
it
kid.
ended the day after I got hired.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this isn't a dream. This is reality. This is very hard. I had SNL dreams, but I don't even think I had like an idea that I would have been on. As a kid, I was watching like, I started probably watching when I was like 8 years old, like Eddie Murphy cast, like Tim Kazurinsky, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, like those, that weird world. And then all the, then everything after that. And then, but I never would have thought like one day I'm going to do that. I just liked it. And then, But then once I was out of school and I was working at Second City and I saw the path from like, oh, people can leave Second City and go on to do all this other stuff. And then that Daily Show was like so ascendant and amazing. And it was like late 90s, 2000s. So then I started submitting writing to the Daily Show basically once a year, starting in 2000. I did it 5 times.
Wow.
Never got hired.
Wow.
And then eventually, when I got hired at Colbert, I had submitted 3 times to Colbert before getting hired. So that's 8 total packets. So I definitely, I mean, that's maybe, to bring it back to the theme, I think I have some drive from
I was going to say, yeah.
You know, like I definitely can point to a bunch of things from my dad that, you know, lessons from my father that were, and my mom's like that too as well. But my dad, they're both actually like that, to be fair to my immigrant mother from Connecticut, that like I said something at their 50th wedding anniversary, which was that they both were people who valued and like saw the value in travel and like moving and being in a different place and risk, which I think maybe is inherently part of traveling and being an immigrant and stuff, and just taking like not living life you know, on your heels and being afraid of too many things and, you know, assessing things where they are, but just not afraid to sort of push and put yourself into places. And I think my dad was always, even once, like would have loved for me to go into business. And then once it was like, oh, you're doing this, well, then still apply the same sort of like drivenness to this, you know, this career path that you've taken.
And so the not getting hired never made you want to give up, or?
For all of those times I submitted?
Yeah.
Not really.
Because I think it's cool for people listening, you know, a lot of people listen. And I think that, you know, first of all, a lot of people, I think, look at people in the jobs that we do as having just, like you said, I was born on Broadway, you know,
right,
no, of course
exactly.
not. But a lot of people think it's such a scary big thing to them and such a sort of world they can't access that they think, well, you have to just have it or not have it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this, you know, those
so
stories
not
of like
true.
submitting 8 times, but I think a lot of people would have stopped after the second time or the third time.
It's so funny. I've never thought about, and no one has ever asked me, not that I've brought it up a lot, but when I do bring it up, no one ever says like, would you, I've just never thought about would I have stopped? And no, I would not. Like, now I realize like there's no way. Yeah, still be submitting.
They're like, the writers are on strike. Nothing is happening.
Sending us shit. I mean, I guess I would have given up at some point, but no.
Why? Why not? Because you believed in yourself, or just because?
Why didn't I give up?
Yeah. What do you think that is? That even now, I mean, I'm sure that applies to other things in your life now that you don't. That you're not
being an
giving
actor
up.
now, it's like every single thing is putting yourself up, even if it's a new role. But you know, I've had a fair number of successes along the way. I'm very fortunate. So that you get a little positive reinforcement. So you go, okay, so I didn't get this one, but I'll go out and do the next thing.
Right.
And eventually, you know, I'll find something. But at that time, pushing through, I guess I knew I was at Second City. So I knew, like, I'm working here. This is fine. I'll just try to get these. I just wanted it badly enough. It was like a very specific goal. I loved the show. I thought Jon Stewart was so brilliant. I thought the Daily Show specifically, I was just like, oh my God, everything they do is so smart. And I loved it wasn't just him. It was like all the correspondence stuff. It just really spoke to me. It had a lot going on. More so than like Saturday Night Live at that point, which I don't know. It was just and at that point, I knew people on the show. There were people from Chicago who had gone on to work for it. And
your roommate was Seth Meyers, I read?
Yeah, I lived with Seth in Amsterdam and out of college for a bit at some point. And he was there, like the best man at my wedding. I just had lunch with him today, actually. And
okay, now you're just bragging.
I'm just bragging. He paid.
He's unemployed right now. So.
He is unemployed. I don't know. He's doing lots of stand-up, actually more now than he normally would. But yeah, like I was like, yeah, that aside. And then John Lutz was working there. And another roommate of mine, Liz Kukowski, was working at SNL. But it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. I was really focused on that. And yeah, like actually it's nice to be reminded that I had that persistence, because it was there without me thinking of it. I didn't have to like wake up every morning and go like, be persistent. I just sort of was. So now if I lose it, I can remind myself that I have the capability to be persistent.
Yeah, but what more is there now?
Than the capability to be persistent?
No, what would be, what's the new goal now? Do you have one?
I mean, what I would love...
own America now?
Yeah, right. What I would love is... what I would really like is to work on a TV show where I was also writing, like to act on it and to write on it and get like a nice chunky sort of like the way that like Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak
So like a show about your life?
Not even about me. I just like the idea of like, oh, I could do a little bit of both. I really like being in a writer's room a lot. I think it's really fun. That's the closest thing to that kind of like being on an improv team. But you don't have to worry about the audience. So you're just kind of focusing on each other and trying to make something better. But I wouldn't want to give up the acting part. So, but no, I don't have like I'm not driven to like come up with an amazing show about my life because I've sort of tried a bunch of different like pilots and different stuff and none of them go anywhere. And so I get a little knocked down by that. So actually maybe I need to remind myself about persistence.
Yes.
Wow, this is a great podcast for me. I'm really learning a lot about myself. Thanks everybody for being part of my therapy session with Lucie. No, I don't feel like I have like some great story to tell inside of me. I feel like I think I'm somebody who's well utilized.
You're a vessel.
Yeah, like, or filling in like gaps in different places. I like playing different roles in different things, but I also like, if I was on a writing staff, being like, what does this thing need? It doesn't have to be all about me necessarily. So maybe that's my goal.
And your father, do you want your son to have sort of the like awareness about your immigrant roots or where you guys come from? Do you try, because he now obviously son, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He now obviously was born in America and you're American, I guess. And I don't know if his mother's an immigrant, but
she's from Texas, so she's also an immigrant.
Huge immigrant.
Yeah.
Biggest immigrant.
But it's funny, actually, because her experience in New York, she was in Chicago. We met in Chicago. But her experience in New York is a little bit like my dad's experience in America.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, I'm here, but like, this isn't really my, like, I didn't grow up here. This isn't the soil. Yeah. And she liked it because she got out of Texas because she knew that wasn't for her either. So it's, again, similar to my dad. But she definitely... I want him to be aware of his like Texas side, and it's hard with the immigrant thing on my dad's side because it's my dad and my dad's sister, and then their cousin, and that's truly it for all that's remaining. The cousin lives in San Francisco. My dad passed away. My aunt lives on the Upper East Side, and so that like when my aunt dies. Hopefully not for a while. That's truly like kind of the end of this like active immigrant chapter. There's no family to go to. We can't. If we went to Romania, I'd be like, I guess we're gonna show you around where maybe I went with my dad. Like it's not like, you know, like if you had kids, you took them to Germany or something like that. It probably feels more alive. Whoops.
Yeah, but I hear you. It's a weird thing, especially when the language wasn't passed on to you because you feel it's a part of you, but you can't really access it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a strange thing. Like I think about it, you know, I wouldn't be able to really, my mom sings in Romanian and my grandma had a thick accent. So I grew up, you know, with that all around, but I wouldn't really be able to give them that much Romanian stuff.
I know. I mean, we give him I'm sure there's plenty of other things that we give him, but it is like, and my sister, the other half of this isn't about me, but my sister's husband is Indian, born in India, but really moved here when he was, I think, like 2 or something like that. So his parents were both Indian. So my brother-in-law's, you know, like a child of, he's a, you know, like a more of a full-fledged first-generation American. So they have a really deep like sense of their kids. My 2 nieces have the sense of their like Indianness, because it's just a little more active in their family. Even though both of those grandparents have passed away, unfortunately.
Better food too.
Better food than Romanian food?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd much rather eat at an Indian restaurant. Yeah, but like, and he actually in particular, like he knows Sanskrit and like he studies, like the Bhagavad Gita and like I'm actually part of a study group that he leads where we read it and stuff. And so their daughters are getting like more of a sense of that. And I'm kind of like, I don't really have much to offer on that front, but yeah.
Did you grow up with any sayings or proverbs or expressions or anything like that? I guess they would be in Hungarian and not Romanian.
Yeah, although there's one in Hungarian. Well, so the curse in Hungarian is Szonyorad Picharad, which, as far as I know, means, may you slide down my back and break with your tongue.
Whoa.
Which is just like a fancy, really active way of saying lick my ass.
I love it.
But that you'd be like this is someone's head and this is the back. Here, I'll demonstrate on the chicken.
Oh, thank you for using the chicken.
You'd have to slide this way and break with your tongue by sticking your tongue.
Oh, break. Like,
Stop,
okay.
break that way. Yeah.
Very, very poetic.
And it would be like if he bumped he'd be like, Szonyorad Picharad. It would just, I remember hearing that constantly.
Well, it is Pride Month, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's rimming month. No, but
that's every month.
But and the other thing that was really great, which is more meaningful, is Romania, which is Sin Pumni. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's TSIN Pumni, PUMNI.
No, I don't know.
Which means like keep fists.
Oh.
I'm actually getting choked up. But it. Sorry,
God.
it means like it's that, but it's
because your dad used to say it all the time. Yeah. No, I get it.
And I'm gonna get a tattoo of it right there, like a fist that says Team Boomy. But I have to figure out. I don't want it to be like a punching fist.
Right.
I want it to be like a whole. I don't know. Does that look more like a holding fist, and that looks like a punching fist?
You get the tattoo and then you have a little barcode, a little QR code. You can scan it and it tells you what's going on.
Yeah, and it has like a whole history. You're like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know.
That's beautiful. I think it's so amazing how these, little memories like that are so evocative of just a person and your whole childhood. When I think of my grandma and I think of pizda mati. Did your dad ever say that?
No, what's that one?
Pizda mati is like the ultimate curse in Romanian. It means go back into your mother's pussy.
Right.
And my mom still says it too.
I'm glad you never said that to me.
Yeah.
Her? She's
But they say it when they like you said, when you bump your knee or something. Pizda mati.
Pizda mati?
Pizda mati. Yeah.
Oh my God. Have you ever looked that up like on Google Translate?
No. Should we do that real quick?
Could. I've never looked up Szonyorad Picharad because I have no idea how to spell it. And I'm sure that it's not literal.
But I did find some Romanian ones that I'd never heard of. Like, for example, a Romanian hasn't just screwed up. He threw his boogers in the beans. A dat cum mucilna fasole. I've never heard that.
That's great.
My grandma never, ever said that. Okay, so we are looking up on Google Translate.
Can you spell it?
Pizda mati, Romanian.
It shows up for me as like a sweet cheese bun.
What? No.
That's great.
Google
That's the result of
Translate.
climbing back inside your mother's vagina.
Ew, gross. Pizda mati? Maybe that's how you cunt. It says for me.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a bad one. Sorry, this is for the Brits only. Cunt mati.
So Pizda is the... Cunt, the way a man might be if he's a real jerk over in the UK.
Yeah, that's what it says. And then say yours again.
Szonyorad Picharad, but that's Hungarian.
Son.
I mean, who knows how that's spelled?
Pijdarat. I'm just going to put that.
Yeah.
Pij.
Hungarian is an amazing language that I wish I spoke.
No, nothing. Doesn't, no.
Have you, Romanian is really what you hear when people are talking on your side of the family.
Yeah, there's no Hungarian at all. Yeah,
It's so funny because Hungarian is so specific. Romanian sounds like Italian almost.
Romanian is a Romance language, and then they have some Turkish words, some Greek words, and like very few Slavic words.
It
but
sounds
Hungarian
like-
is more Slavic, right?
I don't know. I think Hungarian is matched with maybe like Norwegian or Finnish or something, where it's not near it.
Where it's not from any family.
No.
Finnish is the one that's like that. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah, because they're Magyars and they're like
Right.
they're like they're immigrants from like Mongolia or something like
Right.
that. And they came and half of them went this way and half of them went that way.
Amazing.
And it's Finnish and Hungarian and they're related. But it's so specific. And if I hear it, I'm like a dog. I'm like, that's Hungarian. You're speaking Hungarian. But I can't.
I get
I understand and I can't, you know. I
And
wish
then
I
do you
could.
ever go, my dad was.
I did it once. I was in the Grand Canyon and I heard people speaking Hungarian and they were like, oh, that's so cool. I mean, they were Hungarian, so they said it with an accent. They're like, yes, wonderful. Can you speak? And I'm like, no. So now I stop.
Right,
Because there's no
exactly.
follow-up. Like I can't, you know, it's like a half of it's like an empty gesture of like,
Right.
fuck, I wish I could speak Hungarian.
Yeah. I have a Romanian supermarket by my house and I go in and I'm like,
Yeah.
and they're just like, what the fuck? The Romanians aren't also the friendliest people in general. Eastern Europeans have like this attitude. Yeah. But I want
We're
to
not
be
the
like,
first people
I'm
that-
too. I know this.
Where is this place?
In Ridgewood, Queens.
Oh, that's cool.
It's so cool.
What's my dad was telling me about, there was a restaurant out there or something. It's
A
like you get
Hungarian
all
one?
those, I think it's Romanian. It's like all these like weird dried sausages and shit like that. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Pete, aka Peter Grosz. We've come to the very witching time of night where
Okay.
churchyards yawn and hell itself breathes out the poll questionnaire.
These are my lines from the show. my Broadway show.
Your Hamlet?
Yeah.
We have got to play the poll questionnaire.
Let's do it.
Have you heard of the Proust questionnaire?
I have. Yeah. This is like
Of
all the
course
crazy
you
questions.
have,
Yeah.
but this is not the Proust questionnaire. This is the poll questionnaire.
Perfect.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Pete Grosz.
Yes.
The third of his name.
First.
The first of his name. From Hungarian and Connecticut blood. Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop. If you
All accurate, though, so it's
were
fine.
the president of the United States of America, what American food would you ban?
Oh my gosh, what American food would I ban? Oh God, I like so much terrible food.
Aha, you're a real American.
Shit. I mean, I was gonna say like something that came to mind is a chili dog, just because I think it's unnecessary. I don't think you need to put chili on something that is already like a burger or a hot dog. It's pretty unnecessary and it's a fucking
Wow.
mess.
Okay, I
I
like
wouldn't
that.
ban it out of like, you know, like it's gross. I would
What
ban
about
it
a
out.
Hungarian goulash dog?
Same thing. Goulash is like it's all by itself.
Goulash.
I think you're going to say, what about chili on goulash? But that would be a great example of a bad use of
My
chili.
grandma actually made Hungarian goulash.
Oh, yeah.
So
Was
good.
it good? Yeah, my dad didn't really cook, but yeah.
Okay, if you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
Oh, my God. I mean, how many times have people said Donald Trump?
A lot of times, but I think Ted Cruz is the number one choice.
Oh, yeah. You make him go to Cancun, but he has to stay there.
Yeah.
No, I have a fantasy about Donald Trump, and it's that he's on stage. I'm just saying it out loud because I want to actualize it. He's on stage at a rally, you know, in like Oklahoma or something like that, and he shits his pants.
Nice.
And it's just really, really bad. It's just nonstop, and it's on the ground, and he's slipping in it, and he falls in it, and everyone's like, "Oh no!" And they come over to try to help him, and he's like, "No, I got it. I'm fine." And he keeps slipping in it. It gets all on his face, and eventually, like, somehow his clothes come off, and he's wearing a diaper, and he's rolling around. He's like, "Mommy, mommy!" And that's like the only way to just like truly get rid of him. And then slowly, everybody just walks out of the arena, and he's just let there like a turtle turns upside down in his own shit. So after, maybe before that, deport him, and then it happens, or after.
Okay.
But yeah,
I love that. I love
really, that's the only way that we're ever going to get rid of him.
You need to get specific about
you can't just
your
be like,
revenge porn
Yeah.
fantasies.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. If you could add one face to Mount Rushmore, whose face would you add?
Face to Mount Rushmore. I mean, probably someone not white. Just if we're all going to keep Mount Rushmore the way it is,
Yep.
I guess Martin Luther King.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could add one amendment to the U.S. Constitution, what would you add?
I would say, oopsie, Second Amendment was wrong. That's what I would say.
Okay. I love it. I love that. If you would be casting a movie about the Statue of Liberty, who would you cast as the Statue of Liberty?
As the Statue of Liberty? I mean, how often do people say Meryl Streep?
Not that often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck
Meryl
her.
Streep?
Not Meryl Streep. Mamie Gummer, her daughter.
Oh,
Give her a
shit.
chance. Now, yeah, Meryl Streep. Or maybe someone French, maybe like a Juliette Binoche or something like that.
Okay. Interesting.
But not
Interesting.
Catherine Deneuve.
No.
Nope.
No, she likes to get fondled too much. She
She likes-
loves the old fondle.
she
Loves a
would-
good fondle.
Lift up the skirt of the Statue of Liberty and say, come here, Roman Polanski.
She's like, I'm just not just taking the role. I have to sleep with someone first to get it.
Exactly.
What's the most Hungarian thing you've ever done?
The most Hungarian thing I've ever done? Probably like pick at a raw sausage, not a raw sausage, but like a dried sausage, like over a sink, and eating it over like butcher paper, like not properly sitting down and like eating it, but just like.
I thought that was just eating.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I was wrong this
how
whole time.
My dad used to just eat a lot of food over the sink. Like
Yeah.
if there was no dining room table, he would have no idea.
I love that. Isn't that funny that he was so financially organized, but then couldn't get a plate to eat on?
No, just would
That's
like open up
interesting.
deli meats and stuff and just eat over the sink. I also picture him in like a wife beatery day goatee, both bad terms, undershirt. Just like in underwear, just eating over the sink.
I love
like
it.
fucking Stanley Kowalski and Ivan Gross stuck together. Yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions. What's the most American thing you've ever done?
What's the most American thing I've ever done? I guess probably ate a hot dog with chili on it. I'm ashamed
Nobody's
of it.
perfect.
Yeah.
And lastly, and this is probably the most important question I've ever asked anybody, because before we started the podcast, you told me a story. Pete Grosz,
Yes.
do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
How can you meet David Hasselhoff? I know some people who know
He
him.
said his girlfriend.
So I am
has
going
met
to try
David.
to see what I can do. I don't know how much contact she has with David Hasselhoff at the moment, but I'm going to try to see if
Before we started, Pete was like, "Wait, what is this cardboard cutout? Where'd you get it?" You know, my girlfriend was worked at the.
She worked on the Comedy Central roast with him.
And then you were like, and she has all these pictures with him. And Mike also had an internal reaction, I'm just going to say, because I went, oh my God.
Because you love him so much.
Oh my God, our whole podcast journey has led up to this moment.
David, come on in. There he is.
Amazing. Pete, well, where can people find you online, just if they want to stalk you and stuff?
Online, if you please don't stalk me, but online, if you want to follow me in a gentle and sort of respectful manner, at Peter Grosz everywhere.
But it's
Twitter.
Grosz.
Grosz, yes, the Hungarian way.
The
And if you
Hungarian way.
Have not been paying attention. It's the Hungarian spelling. But yeah, Peter Grosz, and I'm on TikTok, but I'm not really on TikTok.
But really, you're on the
And some on
TikTok
Instagram and
of
Twitter.
intellectual people, which is Broadway.
Yes, and if you want to come to Broadway and see me in person, it's Goodnight Oscar at the Belasco Theater now through the end of August, August 27th, I think.
And may there be another extension, or is that a limited thing?
It's limited for the time being. We're not sure. But
Okay.
it's great. If you also listen to Smartless, it's the one that Sean Hayes is in, and he talks about it all the time. So it's very exciting. And everyone else in the cast is great. It's great fun.
And you're on a few seasons of Veep, or one season
I'm
of Veep?
on a few. I'm in like
few.
10 episodes, 11 episodes.
Okay, so people
and
can check out Veep.
Check out Veep.
And the menu, if you haven't seen
the
the
menu's good. That's juicy.
Oh, it's so good. And you're so good.
Thank you. And I was just in something that just came out called White House Plumbers, which is on HBO.
cool. Okay.
And Max, but really it's on HBO. It's about G. Gordon Hunt and Howard Hunt and G. Gordon Liddy, who did the Watergate break-in. And it was super fun.
And what do you play?
I play Earl Silbert, who was the prosecutor who prosecuted them, who I don't look a fucking thing like until you put like dark horn rim glasses on me and then like slick my hair over, and then I'm like, I kind of do look like that guy.
Amazing. Check out everything that Pete, aka Peter, does. Follow him. Go check him out on Broadway. Watch all the things. Eat a Hungarian sausage. Hug a Hungarian person.
Don't ask first. Just hug them.
Yeah, exactly.
They won't mind.
Just hug them. Big fat shout out to our beloved patrons, douchebag Steve, Gio, JT, Wesley, Craig. Oh my God. And big shout out to Martin, who I met at the live show this past weekend and who's so amazing. You rule, Martin. We love you. Thank you for listening. Check out the Patreon. Give us a review and a rating. Thank you to Mike Albanese. Best in the biz, baby. He's hurting from the chili dog comment, but we'll take care of him after this. We'll give him a big hug. Pete, thank you so much for being here. You're the best. Thank you for listening. We love you. Goodbye.